if you look from the Granite Mountain Memorial this way, these 300 acres are not going to be reclaimed, and instead ARCO made a substantial investment in the environment around the Granite Mountain, looking west and down into the mountain con. So a substantial number of restoration enhancements have been made essentially by ARCO through a previous agreement associated with this bargain. The community said, all right, and EPA said there was not a toxic threat to this area, either air or human contact. So we've worked with them that this area will kind of stay the way it is as long as this area, this is quite a bit, this picture's old. A lot of work's been done to clean up and make better this area. We have dollars set aside for planting trees. As a matter of fact, when Tom went through the remedial process with EPA and ARCO, they created tree pods of sufficient depth in areas that have now been GPS and marked, and we can go in the spring and plant some more trees. That will be sort of a restoration project that we would probably be incorporating in our early phases of the Butte Hill restoration. As far as the improvements at the mountain con, the pavilion, the walking trails, the bathrooms, all those were done through this agreement between Butte Silver Bow and ARCO to invest looking west and leave looking east, and what many of you've heard is the historic mining landscape. So it is a prime source of additional restoration work in the future, but I have to say that a good bit of the restoration of that particular area would be done, and we concentrate on other areas. But it is a spot, and if people say, hey, geez, why don't we put a row of trees here or do something there? There are some spots that are ready to go for trees, and there's other areas that we would have to build up the soils accordingly.
I bet you were waiting for restoration dollars to plant those trees, but it sounds like you got some money.
Some of them, yes. I was just trying to impart that probably the mountain con area, if those of you who haven't got your sneak peek, I mean, it's a pretty remarkable place now, and it's set up based on a redevelopment proposal that we worked through over the course of 2001 through 2005, and it finally got implemented in the last few years, and so we're very excited about having that as another element in our Heritage Park on the hill.
Can I just get some, I didn't really understand about the, what's happening with the wastewater treatment plant. It's going to cost about $25 million for a membrane bioreactor that'll be done in 2014.
That's correct.
Is that correct? And by that time, the quality will be good. Is that it's the outfall will reach drinking water standards, or what kind of standards?
No, it won't reach drinking water standards. It'll meet stream standards. We're operating on a permit from DEQ, and it'll meet all those standards.
Is that aquatic life standards?
Absolutely. It'll be excellent source of water.
Even if they reclassify?
Even if they reclassify, yes. It'll meet all the standards. We've toured some of these membrane plants. We toured some in Ohio and Idaho and Oregon and Washington, and the effluent from these plants is absolutely pristine. It is the best water from any wastewater treatment plant you've ever seen.
So what?
But there are still some trace amounts of nutrients, ammonia, and solids. Very small, but there's no technology that takes more out.
That does it all.
Yeah.
So what I don't understand is the $7 to $10 million listed in the priority projects for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Is that part of the $25 million that it's going to cost? Is it, or what?
No, it's an addition, and that's that number's I guess a swag. essentially what we'd be doing is,
Sorry about that.
yeah, that's my fault, that's my fault. That amount of money is our guess right now. What we're looking for is ways to use that effluent in a beneficial use. It could be extremely inexpensive. For example, if all we use our effluent water for is our sod farm at Rocker, or at Ramsey, and running water to a few of the cemeteries, the cost is hundreds of thousands of dollars or less. If we expanded that effluent use to more parks, more cemeteries, then it starts to get into millions of dollars because you have to build the infrastructure to get the water to it. So right now, without a lot of proposals, we had to leave ourselves some room there. But the effluent water would be an excellent industrial use. In my mind, it would be far better than Silver Lake water for industrial use, because the benefits of our effluent will be that it is the exact same every day of the year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will always be the same because it goes through the same process. Silver Lake water isn't that way. In the spring of the year, sometimes Silver Lake water can get a lot of dissolved solids in it from runoff. So we think we're going to have a really good product, and we do have some potential customers, but we have to look into that a little bit further.
Aren't there any monetary benefits just to making it inflow water in Silverboat Creek?
There are, yeah. And by law, we can continue to use it that way. However, it's not the best water that we can put into Silverboat Creek. Basin Creek is much better. One of the problems that we will have with our effluent, no matter how much we clean it up, it's a lot warmer than natural water because of the nature of where it's coming. So in the summer months, it can cause problems with Silverboat Creek because of the temperature, and that's something that's not regulated. What is the temperature?
I don't want Silverboat
Not
Creek.
sure.
It's too high for the little fishies.
It is elevated.
I think we have one more question in the back.
I'm curious if, with the Silver Lake and Basin Creek Reservoir projects you're proposing, if the intent would be to manage those systems for in-stream flows in return for the restoration dollars invested in the infrastructure there, or if that's a separate deal on the water rights or the water use.
That's the idea.
That's the idea, Casey.
If we get help to invest in the infrastructure, then we would make the water available for in-stream flows. That would be the bargain. Rather than buying the infrastructure ourselves and then selling the water for in-stream flow, we would do a bargain.
And I think we have some good points there because, for example, if you sell, if someone were to sell a water right, and you give them $100,000, they can take that money and pocket it. We're not contemplating that. What we're saying is, take that money and invest it in the watershed. We'll lease you the water for $1, but in return, we want some money to complete these projects that have everything to do with the watershed, to have everything to do with fish enhancement, nothing to do with other projects that NRD may not want to see.
I guess just to follow up, so on the Silver Lake system, there's definitely adequate storage for both in-stream flow and for industrial use. In Basin Creek, you're talking about basically not currently having a need for it for the drinking water system, but potentially in the future. So would there be some kind of set term that you would agree to use that for in-stream flow, or is that open-ended on when it might be reused?
Just for discussion purposes, and I think that's a great question, but let's just talk about Basin Creek. In my mind, I think it would be better for NRD to lease it for a shorter period of time, say 10 years, because in 2022, they're going to start releasing water from the Berkeley pit. I don't know what the quality of that water is going to be. I'm not really sure the amount. It's probably going to be about 6 million gallons a day. people are gonna have to sit down and think, do we need Basin Creek in 2022? Or will that water discharging from the Berkeley pit, that treated water, be all you need? I don't think it would be good to try to tie NRD into a 50-year lease when in 10 years they don't need it anymore. I think it would be much better to maybe do short-term leases, a year with renewal, 5 years with renewal. That might be better off for everybody involved, because we don't want to be in this position where we're selling you water that you don't need.
I think your general conclusion is very accurate, though. As it relates to Basin Creek, the investments we make, we have to have an eye towards using Basin Creek potentially in the future for drinking water again. But one would beget the other. A good investment in the infrastructure for in-stream flow in the short term would serve drinking water in the long term. In the case of Silver Lake, there's plenty of water. And we are in the process perhaps of not renewing one of the big contracts. And if we don't, we will have water ready for in-stream flow. And the investments that Rick described would be almost, you know, you invest in these, you get in-stream flow water for the forever, and you'll always be able to have it forever. We will never have to be using that water for something else in the future. We're not lying. Obviously, if we improve the Myers Dam to make it better, to protect the fish and better aquatic environment, improvement there accrues to the benefit of running the industrial flows to the industrial park in the long term to sustain those flows for our economic future. But the investments we make would be in the name of the aquatic, and the in-stream flow would be a perpetual lease.
I think just to give you some idea, in the 1940s, this system was capable of producing 90 million gallons a day. That was full use of Georgetown Lake and Silver, and quite frankly, in those days, before we were worried about protecting the resource, they drained Georgetown down and they drained Silver down, and they'd use all the water and then refill it again. But in 1980, they did another study, and without doing that, the system's still capable of producing something like 60 million gallons of water a day because of the storage that we have. This thing is an unbelievable resource, and we feel that there's plenty of water to go around, not only for industrial uses, but for in-stream flow, and even domestic if we choose to go that way.
Okay, Emmett, we'll let you have the last question.
Simple. How much water does your system use on a peak day?
Which one?
Drinking water.
Yeah, 16 million gallons a day. Used to be about 27 million gallons a day with about the same population. Most of that excess water was leaks. Because of the NRD money, you know, we've made huge improvements on our in-town water system. We've essentially repaired close to 400,000 feet of pipe, and that was the older pipe. So we've cut down the leaks tremendously. And then when this transmission line from the big hole used to leak, I mean, we could lose a couple million gallons a day through leaks, and we fixed most of those, and we're going to continue to replace that. So we're using way less, and it's mainly conservation.
Right, I'd like to thank John and